unfiltered conversations where we explore what it really means to lead with integrity, purpose, and impact, especially when the easier path is right in front of you. I'm Zach Parker, Navy veteran, leadership coach, and lifelong student of what it means to take the high road when it isn't easy. In this podcast, we dig into the moments that test leaders, the decisions that define them, and the lessons that keep them grounded as they grow. Because leadership isn't about perfection. It's about choosing the high road, one decision at a time. I'm joined today by my co-host, Evangeline Piscasio, transformational leadership coach, and someone deeply committed to helping people grow through meaningful connection. Together, we sit down with leaders, builders, and thinkers who are choosing to lead differently, not through power or position, but through principle. Today, we'll be chatting with Jeff Willie, a transformational educator and leadership development executive with a deep commitment to inspiring others to live with purpose. Jeff lives by the phrase, inspire until you expire, and his story spans humble beginnings, hard-earned wisdom, and decades of pouring into leaders across the country. In this conversation, we explore the power of words spoken at the right moment, how leadership is formed long before success shows up, and why influence is less about position and more about responsibility. Before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you stay connected to future conversations. And as you watch, let us know your biggest takeaway in the comments. So we're joined today by Professor Jeff Willie, the professor who will inspire until he expires. And he's the CEO of Jeff Willie Leadership. And I don't know if Evangeline, if you got any questions that you'd like to start out with, or if we want to lead in with
Yeah.
Jeff's.
First
Go
of
ahead.
all, we are so honored, Professor Willie, that you are, one of our first guests. We admire you, we love you, and we're so privileged that you are here sharing your story with us. So, with that introduction, you want to inspire till you expire. Tell us more about that, because I was praying a few weeks ago, and I'm like, God, give me a word. And it was like capital letters, bold, inspire. So tell me about that. Inspire till you expire.
Can I share a story?
Yes, please.
I'm 68 years of age. I know I don't look no more than 58 or 48, but
35.
35. But I have been blessed with the energy of a very, very young person, and I'll keep that energy, and that's a gift from God. You don't take that for granted. And I felt like I'm just getting started, Evangeline and Zach. Even with the age of 60, I had a premonition about I'm going to live another 60 years. Now, will I live another 60 years? I don't know that, but my attitude is that I'm
Mhm.
going to live another 60 years. I would be 120. So I made a little joke about that at my 60th birthday party. I said, I'm going to retire at 110. And the next 10 years, I'm going to be on the beach in my Speedo. That was so and what came out of that is that I have so much to give. God has given me so much to be able to share with others and inspire and expire. John Maxwell used a quote. He says, be a river, not a reservoir. You've said that many, many times. And that is our responsibility. And to be a river, guess what you're doing? You are taking out of you and flowing out of you and inspiring and encouraging others. And river always flowing downstream to be able to help others. It's always cleansing. And that's the part of I'm always, whatever I put in, I need to make sure that I'm pouring out into others and helping others grow and be refreshed. And that inspire the expire is that mean I'm going to be doing that until God call me home. I've always modeled that and tried to be a example of inspiration. If I'm in the room with someone, I want to be the light. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, but I certainly want to be a joyful person in the room. I want to be to encourage people in the room. I want them to live their best life. I want them to be the best version of themselves. When I've done workshops, Zach and Evangeline, and I've done high school workshops, I taught high school junior ROTC for 15 years, and I do consulting work with a lot of school districts around the state of Texas and around the country. And I always started out just like this. And even though those teachers are fairly young, some of them are young enough to be my children, but I always say I'm the youngest person in the room. And they say, what? And I got the gray hair. And I said, wait a minute here. I'm the youngest person in the room. What do you mean by that? It's because age is a number,
Yes.
is an attitude. And I'm the youngest person in the room. And I always want to be that catalyst of inspire until I expire. I did a workshop. I think one of the first keynotes I did, one of the largest keynotes I did was in San Antonio, Texas at Northeast ISD. I had two of my brothers with me. They never attended an event with me before. And so they was inspired. My 78-year-old brother, at the time he wasn't 78, but they were older than me. I'm the youngest of the boys. And they have heard me speak before. So I go on stage and I sit and I'm talking to bus drivers. There's about 550 bus drivers in the room. And bus drivers, usually they have retired from a profession, so they drive bus just to keep busy. They've done things. And some people, a second income for the family. And I always ask the question, will all the young people please stand up? And guess what happens? Not very many people stand up. And so my brother, that's 10 years my senior, he said, you guys better stand up. You guys better stand up, because you know what he's asking. It's the mindset. And so I'm shifting at the beginning of that keynote, I'm shifting their mindset that age is the number, old is an attitude. And you're responsible for, since you're a bus driver, you are the first line of education for that kid getting on that bus. And your attitude makes it different, because that grandmother or that mother is putting that kid on the bus for the first time, for first grade or kindergarten or third grade, it doesn't matter. But when you stop at that bus stop in front of the house and they walk out and you open that door, you got to be inspiring. You got to be inspiring, because you are the first line of education. And so those bus drivers got it, and they all stood up after that.
That's awesome.
That's why I embodied that, inspire until you expire.
Yeah, I really love that. And I believe that's what makes you energetic and young, is because your mindset, you're young, you have a lot of gifts, you're very appreciative of those gifts, and you really have that love and affection for people. I'm wondering, do you have somebody in your life, like a role model of that attitude, of that appreciation for life?
I always give thanks and gratitude to my second brother, who's 78. My older brother will be 80 this Saturday, will be in East Texas celebrating his 80th birthday. He's the oldest of the boys. I have three sisters older than him, but they are now deceased. But he's the oldest of the clan now. He's a matriarch. He's the oldest one, and he'll be 80. My second brother is 78, 10 years my senior, and he's still a very physically fit. He has done things with me. And I have another brother that's 73, 74, and he plays basketball with high schoolers 3 or 4 days a week, still active. But the other part of it, let me take you to the real inspiration of the Inspire. I take you to Inglewood, California. She was born in 1923. My aunt, she was 102, November the 9th this year. And she still exercises. She still gets up on Sunday mornings. Her grandson comes over, takes her out. She goes walking and she's lifting weights and exercise. And she's still dancing. And she's 102.
Wow.
Making no excuses. So it's something in that DNA. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I guess when they bury me, they'll pull it out. But when they bury her, they'll pull it out. But it's all part of that. What an attitude. When he posts videos of her on Facebook or exercising. And so when I see the video, I save the video. So when I'm down or feeling bad or lazy, I just pop one of those videos in and say, what are your excuses, boy? Not 102. What are your excuses? So she is always inspiration when it comes to living a very, very productive life and doing some amazing things. And the last story I share about the powerful words of impacted me when I was 15 years of age. I'm going back into the rearview mirror, because those life lessons impact you.
Yes.
I won't get into the negative side, because I have those stories too. But one story about a gentleman by the name of Reggie Day, Coach Reggie Day. He was my 10th grade track coach. I ran track. I'm a runner. That's what I did. I've run European track. I've coached European track, and I've ran even as an adult. And when I was 15 years of age, I'm running track in high school. Second semester of high school is always the second semester. Football is the first semester, and basketball, and then track starts part of the end of the year. And I'm running the At that time, it was not the 4x4 relay, it was a mile relay. So I'm dating myself because it wasn't meters then, it was yards. And so I'm running the 440 and I'm running the mile relay and I'm running the third leg. And he timed my meters. He said, JW, at that moment, he called me JW for the first time I've ever been called JW, which is Jeff Willie. He started calling me JW, and a lot of my family still call me JW today because of that. He said, you need to run the open 400. I'm saying, what do you mean, coach? And what he said to me, 3 words that changed my life. You can do it.
Mm.
You can do it. That shifted my thinking from an environment of I can't, don't, no. When he said that, I can do it. You can do it, JW. And that shifted my world. That changed a lot of things about what I can do because someone spoke positivity into me that I can do it because I come from an environment of negative.
Yeah.
And now fast forward to 2020. This is 1974 what I'm talking about. I've not seen him since 1974. Fast forward to January 2020. Prior to that, in October of 2020, it's almost like the Lord said, give people their flowers while they're alive. Who impacted you? Who planted some seeds in you for your growth and development when you were a teenager? And the first thing came to mind was Coach Reggie Day. I had to find him, and I did find him.
Wow.
Pastor in a church in East Texas. I got his phone number from a mutual friend. I spoke to him. Coach Reggie Day, you probably don't remember me. This is Jeff Willie. Oh, yeah. Oh, because of what you say. That's what old people say. Oh, remember you, boy. No, he didn't. That's okay. But said, Coach Day, I need to come and thank you and give you your flowers for what you did for me when I was 15 years of age. And so in January, I went to his church in Mineola, Texas. My wife and I and my brother came up from Tyler, Texas, our mutual friend that gave me the phone number. And I preached at his service and saying these are the reasons I'm here. So I let his congregation know this gentleman spoke into me when I was 15 years of age that changed the trajectory of my life because he said, you can do it. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. So to this day, we still stay in touch. We'll text each other maybe every other week just to check on each other. Of course, he's almost 80 now, and but the impact that he had on my life, and God showed me. We line up a casket and we say all great things about a people in front of the casket. And there's flowers, but God said, give to people the flowers while they're alive. And that's what I do right now. Try to bless people with what they have and bless me with while they still on this earth. And I can say, thank you for what you did for me.
Man, powerful stories. That's what you get when you ask Jeff Willie one question and you get the most powerful stories that you can imagine. I've enjoyed lots and lots of time with you over the last few months with the leadership game sessions and e-speakers and stuff. And I really appreciate the energy that you bring to those sessions and the amount of, I don't know, the guidance and the expertise that you bring into those sessions about, how to make them effective and how to use that particular tool in an effective way. It's really helped me quite a bit. On a personal level, I appreciate that you are just a very easy person to talk to. I told you, I don't know, we'd had maybe 2 conversations when I first joined Maxwell, and I said, I'm having a problem. You said, well, give me a call. I'm waiting on your call. I was like, well, you actually mean it.
Yeah.
It's just been fantastic getting to know you. And speaking of getting to know you, I'd like to go back. Let's get in the Wayback Machine. Not that we haven't already, but we'll get in the Wayback Machine here. And I saw in the show notes that you said, you're the number 11 out of 15. Is that right? My
Wow.
wife is the 4th oldest of 14. So I've got an idea of, kind of, she grew up in Ukraine in the 80s. So it's kind of like wherever you grew up.
My mother and father, my mother had 15 children, and 11 of those was by my dad. The first 4 was by her first husband, and he left her with 3 little girls and pregnant with my older brother. When my father returned from World War II in 1945, he met my mother. She was in the woods, living in the woods, trying to raise 3 children and pregnant with my older brother because his dad just, I don't understand all of that. This is before I was born, but and so my dad, being the kind gentleman that he is, quiet, and he was very handsome, and my mother and him connected, and he just started taking care of her, cutting firewood, bringing her food, hunting squirrels, and doing things for her because he saw a person in need. And to this day, I still embody that because when he talks about that, I still embody that, taking care of people that are in need. And eventually, he and my mother married, and they moved from one part of the woods to another part of the woods because my father could not read and write. My father was born in 1910. He was illiterate, but he was the wisest man I know. Now, let's think about an illiterate person serving in the United States Army during World War II. So he got to have a significant amount of emotional intelligence to be able to do that, to navigate your world. And he was able to do that. That's how brilliant he was. Take you further back, and why he developed that significant amount of emotional intelligence. Because he was born in 1910. In 1922, his father, my grandfather, John Willie, passed away. My father, being 11 years of age, he's the oldest, and he became the head of the household at 11 years of age. Now, would you ask an 11-year-old boy to be the head of your family? No, not today. But he had siblings and a mother, and he was responsible for taking care of his siblings and his mother at 11 years of age. And that's what he did from 1922 until he left to go into the Army in 1940s. He took care of his mom and his siblings to the point where his siblings didn't even know their actual father. They called my father Daddy Hobie. His own sisters and brothers called him Daddy Hobie. That's how much admiration they had for the older brother. And that name carried over into his adulthood because his own children, to include me, everyone called him Daddy Hobie. That's the type of persona and personality that my dad embodied. He was everyone's father, and he cared for a lot of people, and that was his nature. And so when my mother and I got married, they got married and eventually moved into another part of the woods because I was raised in the woods. My father was a sharecropper, and the property that we owned did not belong to us. It belongs to the owner. And so our responsibility, my father's responsibility, was to raise the crops and share those with the person that owned the property. And very fortunate, the person did not ask for anything. He just allowed us to live there. My father raised the food. I plowed with a mule. We had no electricity, no running water, no TV, no telephone, none of those amenities at all. Well water and brook water. That's what we did. Washed clothes in an iron pot. Cook. My father would get up at 4 o'clock early in the morning time and go hunt for squirrels and rabbits. I always tell people, if it moved, we ate it.
That's healthier food. That's real food.
It was you can't do that now because it was healthier back then. It was much healthier. Absolutely. If it moved, we ate it. And armadillo, possum, raccoon, squirrels, rabbits, we ate it. I ate all that growing up, literally. And we raised hogs, we raised chickens, and eggs coming out of the chicken coop. And sometimes we get up in the morning time as we hear the chicken squalling and hacking because a snake has got into the chicken coop. And my father would run out there and get his gun out and run the snake off and shoot the snake. And sometimes a fox will be in the hen house. We had to run off fox. We had to run off all the coyotes, all because we lived in the woods.
Yeah.
That's what we saw.
You didn't eat the snake, did you?
Yeah. That's what we saw. And that was part of that. And one of the things that I share with you that embodies me today, that I saw my father out of the woods. When you walk out of the woods and you hit the farm to market road and you go up the road, and everybody that lived around us had electricity, had running water, had a party line telephone, because back then it was party line, and they had a TV, and they had automobiles. We didn't. So, and they had refrigeration, and we didn't. We had ice boxes, or we had salt pans. We had a smokehouse. We would put food inside of a salt bin, and it would be cured because salt cures and it preserves it. And we would do that. And when my mother said, go get some food out of the salt bin, my father would get it out and he would wash it up. But what he did to me, what he modeled for me, is that when we killed a hog, or butchered a hog, we usually butchered the hog right around May or June. It was in that, based on with my father, because he's, all right, boys, get your stuff together. We finna go butcher hog. Now now as kids to name the hog, and then guess what? We got to go kill Bob. We got to go kill John. We have to because that's what we did as kids. But the passion of my father was that we would kill a hog because he was so giving. We would wrap it in whatever kind of pieces of the hog, whatever kind of paper that we could find, and we would walk out of the woods and we walked to neighbors' homes a mile or 2 miles away that had more resources and money than we did, and he would still give them what we had. He would still share with our neighbors what we have. He's taught us to share. You don't give out of your substance, you give out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what he modeled. And I still think about that today. I'm saying, and at that moment, you don't think about that. You're just a boy doing what dad asks you to do. But when you take time to reflect on it as an adult, when you're raising your own children, he was modeling giving. Always have a heart to give, no matter what. You can't always give. You might not have the finances to give. You might not even have the resources to give, but you got time, you got talent, and you got a heart to give. And that's what he modeled for us, especially for me.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Reminds me of my own father too, and my own childhood. We didn't have any of those electricity, so I can really relate to that.
Mhm.
So you have so much appreciation for your dad, being the 11th of 15th, it's a lot of siblings. I have 8. Have you ever felt, or did you ever feel like you were not getting the attention or like the resources that you needed as a child? Have you ever felt like that at all?
You don't feel that way as a child because everybody is. We didn't have any. I mean, we didn't have anything. Uh, when I reflect back on this time of the year
Mhm.
as a child, because there was there were no gifts.
Yeah,
We didn't have the resources to buy gifts. Santa
yeah,
Claus is not coming down our chimney, or none of the above. And so I have to be completely transparent. This is always a challenging time for me, this time of the
yeah.
year.
Oh gosh, I
Yeah,
can
because of
relate to that too.
yeah. So I relate to that and I reflect on that, and because I know my father did the best he could, but I'm sure there was a regret, a disappointment that he never shared with us, that he's not able to get his children Christmas gifts because we didn't have money. But we had each other, and what we did, we would walnuts, pecans, whatever we could get during those winter seasons. Sometimes we get apples and maybe get some oranges in a box, in a shoebox. Literally, I'm talking in a shoebox that we was able to collect, or in a bag, and that would be it. That would be it. The toy part was not part of parts were not part of the equation. And of course, the other part of that, when you return to school, they always ask the question, "What did you get for Christmas?" Because the kids are bringing their toys to school, showing off their toys. The teachers are asking the kids, "What did you get for Christmas?" Showing off their toys to the teacher. And guess what? That was not part of our discussion. That was not part of what I could do. That was no show and tell for me. That was no show and tell for my siblings. And so so when you think about that and reflect on that, it's just challenging. And you never forget that, but you
Yeah.
learn to move forward and you do the best you can, but you never forget that. It becomes a deep reflection. So it's a moment that every moment, every Christmas, and I have to be transparent, every moment and every Christmas, there's a moment I just want to be alone.
I'm
You feel
teary-eyed.
Mhm.
I'm teary-eyed. Sorry, Zach.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
no, no,
you for being so transparent because I also wrote that in my book. I had chronic disappointment as a child because every time, you hear people having something, you see television shows where Santa Claus comes, and I never believed that Santa was real, but I know that there were parents who were putting gifts in. So I would hang like old socks and I would get disappointed because there was not even a piece of candy there. So I think that really affected me,
Mhm.
as a child. But when you experience things like that, you get so much appreciation really for what you have. You turn out generous because you don't want other kids to experience what you've experienced, and you remain grateful, and that's so admirable. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I agree. That was obviously not my experience growing up, but my father's experience was not too far off from that. They actually, I own my parents' house now. They grew up, my dad grew up right next door. He was the youngest of five. He had four older sisters, and his dad was born in 1913. So,
Mhm.
and they were dirt poor their whole lives, always worked for somebody on some project somewhere. My grandfather was in the Marines in World War II and joined the Army in Korea, and was gone for a really long time when my dad was growing up. Just they they never had too much, and so everything that my dad managed to get in his life, he was always very grateful for.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
But I wonder how those experiences have played into your professional life as you've grown into being a highly respected professor, and not just of the leadership game either, but a highly respected professor and a very uh, challenging and competitive business.
What has benefit is that I appreciate my history
Mhm.
and I appreciate the challenges and I appreciate people. And so as a professor, I knew exactly, I felt what I felt. I was able to connect. It's all about connection. You connect with the people, they learn. Students, no matter who you are, you don't learn from people you don't like because you stop listening to people that you don't like. So if you're not listening, if you're not in comprehending, if you're not interpreting, you're not learning. It's all about connection.
Yeah.
And as a professor, I made the connection with my students, and I'm one of them. I know where they are. I got my degrees in that same environment, leaving high school, getting married, having children, joining the military. And so I got all my degrees in that environment as an
Mm.
adult student. So I understand that there are wives at home, a husband at home, with children at home, and when they're at home, they still got to do those family duties and children on your back, and you got to go out and do that. So I understand. I connected with all of that because I can relate to all of that. Additionally, most professors in a traditional college setting, because they are normally theoretical, not practical.
Yeah.
When they are theoretical, they're going from theory and they have a hard time connecting with their students. They're giving them information, but they're not giving the application of the information.
Yeah.
So everything that I do, I can relate it to a story, personal story, or either a military story, a business story. So it becomes very, very durable and it becomes very practical. And once it becomes practical, and then the applications takes place. And when you connect with them, because I literally connect, I was able to connect my students. I still stay in some. I transitioned out of the classroom in 2023. So 20 years in the collegiate classroom in June of 2023. And some of my students still reach out to me, still talk to me all the time because of the connection, because of the relationships. One story, retired Navy. Obviously, when University of Phoenix, you see a lot of military retirees, military veterans that have come to my classroom, and once they see my bio, oh, we got a military person, and then they read my bio and they see what I did, they go, oh my goodness, he's gonna be tough. Oh Lord, he's gonna be tough, man. We he's gonna have us sitting up straight, and none of the above, because I didn't, because I understood where he was coming from. But one story sticks out to me as a professor. A Navy gentleman, African American Navy. First name is John. Prior to him when he got out of the Navy, he had a hard time transitioning out of the Navy, so he struggled because we that's a way of life. And a lot of our military men and women, he struggled. And guess what? He became homeless. Now he's a retired Navy person. He became homeless. And he started using drugs. His daughter rescued him from the streets. His daughter, he shared a story with me. His daughter rescued him from the streets, cleaned him up, and start taking advantage of his educational benefits to do something with his life. And he shared that story with me, and I connected with him. He came to my classroom, and we are still, it's been years and years and years ago. He lives in Spain now with his new wife, and we still stay in touch. What happened was, since he connected with me And I was able to feed into him and pour into him that river aspect that we talked about, pour in and share what your knowledge and share your experiences. And I'm on the front row. We was at the American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas, where the Dallas Mavericks play. That's where we hosted our graduation. I believe it was in June. He got his bachelor's degree. And I'm on the front row when you come across the stage and you come down in front of the stage, and there's the faculty there. And guess what I did? All I did was stand up to congratulate him. And he grabbed me and lifted me in the air and gave me the biggest bear hug. And he looked at me and he yelled out to the crowd, "I'm here because he poured into me." And I'll never forget that. And then I spoke to him. I said, "John, go get your master's degree." And when he got his master's degree, he did the exact same thing. He said, "I'm here because he poured into me." And everything he does on social media right now, sometimes he tagged me on it. When he got married, because he got kids, but he obviously do his military time. He lost his first one. She didn't pass away, but they got divorced. But he remarried, and she married a young lady from Spain. And now he moved to Spain, lives in Spain now. And he is just doing absolutely great. And we have been in touch, I would say probably 15 to 17 years we have been connected. When he first came to my classroom, I think I was teaching maybe about in my second year as a faculty member. And then there he shows up, and we have been connected ever since. And it's all about the connection. It's all about the relationship. And that's what leadership is about. Everything
Yes.
you do is about the relationships. And once you make that connection and get that relationship, and guess what? Because John's always say, you've heard this before, always win the heart before you ask for the hand. And the
Mhm.
heart has to come first. And that time in that classroom, Zach and Evangeline, was one of the greatest times in my life. And of course, even with doing so, I'm teaching Air Force Junior ROTC by day and college by night, multiple times by night. And the last story before I transitioned, because I got to give you an Air Force Junior ROTC story. I have to give you one because this makes a difference. Same thing happened. Traditionally, African American boys, especially ones that don't want to be in school, they usually, "Can I go to the restroom? Can I go to the restroom?" They ask the teachers quite a bit, "Can they go to the restroom?" So they can what? Get out of class. And that's just typical teenage boys. And so during my planning period, I traditionally walk the hallway because I can walk and just exercise, get some fresh air. I just walk the hallway, and I always see this one young man in the hallway. "Son, what are you doing out here? What are you doing out here?" "I go to the restroom." "You ain't got to go to the restroom. I know that. What are you doing? You just want to be out of the classroom." So I walk him back to class. And when I open the door, and you can see the teacher's face when he comes back into the classroom, like, "Oh, I didn't want him to come back." The nonverbal said, "Please, I didn't want him to come back." And so I did that multiple times. He was classified as a senior that year. I did that multiple times. I'm at we at the high school graduation in Garland, Texas, and I walk out to get ready to go to my car, and I saw this young man saw me, and of course, Air Force, "Hey, Sergeant, come here. I want to introduce you to my family." His mother, his grandmother, his siblings. If it wasn't for this man, I would not graduated high school. And I'll never forget that because I made sure that he went to class. I walked him back to class, and he was so proud to introduce me to his family that night. I had no idea. I don't even remember his name. I really don't. I don't even know his name. But I remember the situation, and he remembered how I made him feel, and I remembered how he made me feel when he said, "This is a man. If he hadn't walked me back to class, I would have not graduated high school." I'll never forget that.
That is so true. That reminds me of my patient many years ago. He was probably 13 years old, African American boy that nobody wanted to take care of because he was a frequent flyer at the
Mhm,
hospital, drug
mhm,
seeker, as they say. And I spent some time with him. Um, Probably 10, 15 years after, somebody gave me a big bear hug, at an ice cream parlor. And he was like, "You were the first person who ever treated me as a human being, not as a disease." And so those kinds of, interactions, like you said, they'll never forget it. I didn't recognize him. I didn't know his name, but
yeah.
I didn't know that the impact of what that conversation was able to, make an impact in that young boy. So since then, I always make sure that each interaction, each time I see somebody,
Hmm.
to make a difference in their lives, because we never know.
You never know. You're right, Evangeline.
It's incredible the amount of impact, one decision can have on someone else's life. Years ago, when I first got into personal development, this was about 15 years ago. I remember having a realization that procrastination, which was something that it's something I still deal with, but procrastination is not just stealing,
Mm,
you know, something from myself, it's stealing from other people, really.
yeah.
When you come right down to it, if you don't pursue the things that you are good at with every ounce of energy that you have, then you're robbing someone else of an opportunity to achieve something they could achieve
Mhm.
in their lives. Because the thing that you're good at, may pave the way for that other person.
That's
So
it.
Yeah.
That's it. That
make
is
an impact.
absolutely.
That's when you talked about having the right attitude, it made me think of this. So this book right here,
I have that book.
Mm,
yep.
mm,
You can see we're about
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
halfway through that book right
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
We're reading that as a family. Every night we read for about half an hour, and then we have about a 30-minute discussion.
Mhm.
Mm,
Just read a chapter and then talk about it as a family. And the difference it has made in my kids' attitudes has been phenomenal. In your life, in your professional life, what would you say? You said you've got some negative stories.
mm.
I don't want to get into negative stories, but what would you say is a leadership lesson that you had to learn the hard way, or maybe a mistake that you made that you realized afterwards, oh, I should have done this differently.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. I have. I could have given away my career in the military, almost, but the grace of God, and I had people develop relationships along the way with people that had significant influence in the military, like a four-star general.
Mm.
That impacted. I was a convoy commander. Convoy commander is meaning you're moving priority A resources, weapons as a convoy from point A to point B, and that coming from a weapon storage area to upload into a priority A aircraft, into a primary aircraft. And I'm the commander, and I'm working operations during the day. And so you get told you're going to be, if we move this system at some time tonight, early in the morning, you're going to call from control center. We'll you come in, assemble your team, and then you have to transport this resource from point A to point B. But yes, guess what? I got the call uh, early Friday morning, late Thursday night, about 1 p.m., about 1 a.m., excuse me. And so I'm the senior person. The team is put together, security response team, because you have to have a protection for the resource. And we do all the what I call route security. Wherever the transport's going to go, you have to definitely make sure that the route is secure along the way. Corridors are set off, all the different things. It's almost like a Secret Service operation, what I'm asking. You've probably seen those when the president's going, everything is blocked off, no one is moving. And we check all cars, park cars in parking lot late at night, make sure no one's in the car. And one of my security teams checked one of the cars in one of the location, and they noticed a kid in the back seat of the car, black Camaro in the back seat of the car, and they noticed a kid. And so they get on the radio and say, "We found a small child in the back seat of a car at this location, at one of the locations that a child should not be,
Mm,
at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning." And so my expert, which is the weapons expert, the other weapons expert, he's in the back seat, and he said, "That's my son."
mm,
So what is your son doing in the back
mm,
seat of your car at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, my wife didn't come home last night, so I brought him in to work with me. Now, this is November in West Texas. He brought him into work. Oh, man. Couldn't find, you'd think he would find someone to watch his 4-year-old son at that time in the morning, since he's got called into work like I did. And so he figured he would be okay in the back seat of the car, covered up with a blanket in November. It's get cold in West Texas in November. Temperature is dropping at nighttime. And so I made a command decision. Let's go get this boy. I'm in an SUV, a Blazer, Chevy Blazer back then. And so we put the boy in the back seat of our Blazer. I have my driver. I'm not a driver. I have a driver. I'm in the front seat in the passenger side because I'm the commander. And I have a young lieutenant observer learning the ropes. And then I have my weapons technician. And now 4 people, and I got a little kid in the back seat, in the back of my SUV, my Blazer. And so I made a decision to put that kid in my Blazer. Daddy Hobie coming out. Daddy Hobie is I was operating out of Daddy Hobie paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And so since we have a primary communication net and an alternate communication net, and we monitor each other. And so when they found the kid, it came over my primary internet in communication net, but it also came over the alternate internet communication net. And the alternate communication net said, where is this boy? And of course, the primary said, well, I have the boy. And so we ran the complete convoy with a 4-year-old kid in the back of my automobile. I think, Zach, you probably feeling it already, aren't you? You probably feeling it already.
Yep.
Not a good decision.
Yeah.
Not a good decision, because now we operating with Department of Defense resources, and I'm putting a 4-year-old kid in harm's way. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Convoy's
Thank
over.
God.
Nothing happened. Convoy's over. We all come in, turn in our resources, turn in our weapons, and we all go home. Now, you know that I said that alternate net was aware of that boy in the back of my vehicle. And so I come in to work the next day. Well, now it's obviously it's Friday morning. I get home about 4 o'clock Friday morning, and then I get up around 8 and I come back into work on Friday afternoon. And then by 3 p.m. on Friday afternoon, I go home for the weekend. I'm sitting on my front porch in base housing, and I get a phone call. And my wife handed me the phone, cordless phone, and it was my chief. He said, you need to put your uniform on, come back into the unit. What are you talking about, chief? And me and this chief were stationed together at a previous base. We both came from the same base out of Belgium, so I knew him. We worked together in a previous assignment. Now we're in a current assignment working together again. And so we knew each other. You know what kind of person I am. You know what kind of integrity I have, all the different things. So he said, you need to put your uniform on, come in and see the commander. Oh my goodness. So I did put my uniform on, come in and see the commander. And there's all the senior leadership lying in the hallway, waiting for me to walk like I'm walking through a guillotine. And because they all knew what was going on. And there I am going to the commander, and I had to report in the commander, and they was offering me administrative punishment for dereliction of duty. And dereliction of duty was, guess what? I had a 4-year-old boy exposed. I violated DOD regulations. Literally, I violated DOD regulation. That's the law. It was black and white. That you can't dispute that.
Yep.
This is on a Friday, and so now I got a whole weekend of crying. Yeah, because right now I'm thinking, man, this is over. I mean, literally, because I was a very young E7 Master Sergeant. I've been in the Air Force about 11 years, and so I got promoted very quickly. I mean, because I'm a student, and I got promoted fairly quickly. And so I prayed. I visited with my friend on Saturday morning at the basketball gym, told him about it, and we prayed while we was playing basketball. We stopped and sit in the bleachers and prayed a little bit, and then on Saturday evening, something clicked in me that call General Ryan. I had no idea. I knew he had retired from the military. He was living in California somewhere, and I don't know how it happened. Zach, Evangeline, please, I can't explain how I got his number. I don't know, but I met him when I was a young airman at Scott Air Force Base, and he was a 3-star, and we had a connection. And I'm just an airman, and he's a 3-star, but we had a connection. And then when I was a staff sergeant doing Grenada, my name crossed his desk again. And then in 1983, he sent me to the White House to meet President Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan. So I got pictures. I got a chance to hang out with the White House with President Reagan, all because of General Ryan. And now here I am, E7, Master Sergeant. And now I'm being given administrative punishment for what I dereliction of duty. And so I called General Ryan, called his house. His wife answered the phone. Don't know. She said, well, he's at work. Here's his work number. Call him at work. Now, the 4-star working on a Saturday, retired 4-star, have no business working on a Saturday. He should be playing golf, but he's at work because that's the nature. And I told him the story of what happened. And a week later, on Friday the following week, I went in with all my evidence of what I've accomplished in the military with the White House, Grenada, all the awards, all the recognition, fast promotion, all I had a portfolio of recognition. And I walked in the commander, and he said, he said, Sergeant Willie, I don't know who you know, but everything is over with. Nothing's going to happen. General Ryan wrote Bill Erie a letter and told him about me. This is my guy. And they dropped it. They dropped everything.
Wow.
They dropped him. Now the reflection point is that what could I have done differently? I could have had the other patrolman come and pick that young man up, take him to the law enforcement desk, and let him rest inside one of the cells there, because there was a bed in the cells and he can relax there. And now we definitely punished that dad that brought that boy in. He did receive some administrative punishment. He did. Literally, he did. But when I walked in to tell the commander, accept whatever was going to happen to me, my report was, sir, I accept responsibility for everything I did, and I don't think I would have done anything differently.
Yeah.
I accept responsibility, because that was Daddy Hobie coming out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a fantastic story. It's a true example of leadership.
Yes.
Too, you know,
Yeah.
like just the idea that, look, it's not the 4-year-old's fault that he's in the situation that he's in.
Right.
All you can do is make a decision about how you're going to handle it now. Right. And whatever decision you make, whether it's the right one or the wrong one,
Yeah.
the one that protects the child's safety is always the right one, in my
That's
opinion.
And that's the Daddy Hobie in me.
Yeah.
I'm always going to protect the children.
I think that's what set you apart as a leader. There are so many leaders, and I was told I have that leadership too, because I wasn't afraid of risking my own reputation in order to help others and protect their safety. So I think that's what really sets you apart. And yeah, so many gold nuggets here. So have you ever written a book or thought about?
I'm working on it. I'm writing my memoirs every morning. That's what I'm doing. I got a
I
reading
can't wait.
library where I don't keep my books here. I have books behind me, of course, but when I read books, I go to my reading library and I read there, because I don't want my technology in front of me distracting me. So I go to my reading library, but I'm writing my memoirs right now. And then tomorrow afternoon, my brother and I, we have started scheduling every Thursday at 3:00, because we're dealing with the same history, very much the same history. So because of the reflection and all the different things negatively that we grew up under, he struggles putting it in writing, and he needs coaching through that. So I said, well, let's do it together.
Yeah,
Let's
wow.
do it for an hour. Let's do it together. Let's ask this question, and then I give you the courage to talk about it. And now I'm going to also now take a moment to write something down, what you're thinking, because your daughter and your granddaughter needs to know.
Yeah.
My grandchildren and my children needs to know. These are some of the challenges. These are some of the opportunities, because I need to know where they come from. And if we don't share that with them, it's forgotten. And so we got our first appointment is tomorrow, because he's been struggling with that. As I'm writing my memoirs. I'm doing it every day. Every day I'm doing something. Oh man, I can't do it. It's hard. It's hard because He's 10 years older than I am. So you can imagine some of the trauma that he experienced. And he's a Vietnam vet, 2 tours in Vietnam, post-traumatic stress disorder. So a lot of things he's dealing with, he just needs a way to extract that. And I want to be that, I want to be that the catalyst to help him extract that, to put it in writing, because his daughter and his granddaughter needs to know.
Mhm.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that was one of my motivations for writing my first book also is even though they won't read it now, I'm sure, when
Mhm.
I'm gone, hopefully they'll have something to
Yeah.
remember me by and to know more of. So that's great.
Part of
I
that,
can't wait to book.
part of that, I am the part of the book title is the value of X, value of the X. Now, X is a letter in the alphabet, but the value of the X is not the letter in the alphabet. The value of the X is my father's signature
Mm,
on my
Mm.
birth certificate.
Wow.
Because my father could not read and write. He was only able to make an X to sign my birth certificate. The county clerk at the bottom of the birth certificate, this is Hobie Willie's mark.
Wow.
And I have that. I carry it with me. It's in 24/7. It's on my phone. It's on my tablet. I keep that birth certificate. I did not know my father was illiterate until I joined the Air Force. I needed my birth certificate to enlist in the Air Force. And my mother gave me my birth certificate. And I saw the dates and I saw the signatures. And so I evaluated my birth certificate. And that explained why my father would always ask me. I would bring things home to read, and my father would say, "Read it, son. Practice your reading." He was masking his illiteracy. And I didn't
mm.
realize that because I'm just a selfish kid, teenager, and whatever dad asked me to tell me to do is what I did. But when I start reflecting on that moment at 19, my father could not read and write. And I didn't know that until I joined the military at 19 years of age. And so that X shifted me. That was a paradigm shift because I made literacy my platform. I come from a family of illiterate. My father couldn't read and write. My mother had a third grade education. We was raised as 12 kids. I have 2 sisters and a brother that passed away before, when they was babies. There was a girl in between my sister and I. She passed away, and after I was born, my brother Al and my brother sister Irma passed away. So we was raised as 12, primarily 6 kids, 6 boys and 6 girls. And so here I am, getting ready to go into the Air Force at age 19. And my mother, let me say it this way: when my mother would birth the children, there was no hospital. It's a midwife. That was Miss Julia Stating walking the road to deliver the baby. And then she would go home. And so my mother would record the births in the Bible because you're not going to a doctor. You're not issuing a birth certificate. So I was born in 1957, November the 10th, 1957. My birth certificate was issued to my mother and dad after almost 5 years later when they finally got a ride to town, October the 26th, 1962. And
Wow.
and so my mother would give the Bible to the county clerk based on the dates that she inscribed in the Bible of the birth of the children, and they will issue a birth certificate with that birth date. But the actual sign date of the birth certificate was October 26, 1962. That's when my father made the X. And that was a major shift in from illiteracy to literacy. And so from that day forward, no more, not through my bloodline. Illiteracy will not flow through my bloodline anymore. That the buck stops with me.
That's fantastic. Um, wow,
Talk
man.
about using your pain for your purpose, right?
Hmm?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So inspiring. I can't wait to see and read your book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be one of the ones. I've got several books sitting here that I use them to prop my elbows up because the thing is too low. But they're always books that I read, so it's convenient 'cause it helps me keep my arms up and then I can also read them too.
Here's
So
mine.
Restored.
nice. I I just wrote a book
Story
earlier
of
this year.
restoration.
It's Not one that nobody with any sense will read that unless you want to go to sleep. If you need sleeping pills, you just replace it with that.
Well, that's how I'm grounded. This is my ground. That's what grounds me. It's my history keeps me grounded.
Yeah, yeah. And you're very successful in your career as a professor, being in the military. I have so much respect. I worked at the VA, if I haven't told you, and the veterans are my most favorite patients after 33 years. I have so many stories
Mhm.
of coaching them. So you guys are so dear to my heart. I am hopefully gonna write a book about that too.
Amen.
But
Good.
yeah, you've been so successful, and there are so many people who are successful in their careers, but then sacrifice their family. Tell us a little about your parenting experience, and you have very successful kids also, right? So
Well,
tell us a little bit
my
about that.
oldest is an MD, pediatrician, and my youngest is a lawyer, attorney.
Wow.
And mother did well, didn't it? She did well. She did outstanding. Absolutely. But
And
that goes into the line of the buck stops with me.
yes,
Illiteracy no longer will
yeah.
go out of my bloodline. When I got stationed at Dyes in Abilene, Texas, 1986, then my children and my wife came in January 1987, and my wife went to school to get her bachelor's in nursing. She was always an LVN, and then she pursued her bachelor's in nursing. And my wife has a PhD now. So, and
Wow.
and then she got a master's in nursing. And after that, I did made a decision. Once she finished that master's in nursing, and then I started working on my associate's degrees because I had no degrees at the when I this is 1980, 1990 something. I had no degrees. So I started working on my associate's degrees, start putting things together. And let me tell you, of all those things that I needed to finish my associate's degree was one subject that was haunting me ever since the eighth grade. My math teacher in the eighth grade, I was in his math class. No, was it? Yeah, eighth grade. No, ninth grade. I'm sorry, ninth grade. No, I'll take it back. Let me make sure I get it right. Eighth grade. I want to make sure I get it. It was eighth grade. And and the teacher with four other boys and myself was in the back of the room. We eighth graders and we are boys. And I'm kind of a follower because I'm not a creator. And I was just following, and there was a few of the boys. We was back there clowning. And that math teacher looked at us boys and looked at us in the eye and said, "You boys are stupid and you're never going to amount to nothing." Now, this was an educator speaking into us.
Mhm.
And don't take in his follow-up statement, and don't take algebra in the ninth grade. And so I leave his eighth grade math class. Now I'm in the ninth grade freshman. And guess what? I don't take. I don't take algebra because guess what? I've been told that I'm stupid, never going to amount to nothing, and don't take algebra in the ninth grade. And so self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
And so I didn't take algebra, but I needed 2 tracks of math to get out of high school. And now I need 4 tracks of math to graduate high school. And so in the 10th grade, I took algebra. And I'm thinking, man, I'm pretty good at this. Why did I take this in the ninth grade? I would have been ahead. I was relying on that word.
Mhm.
That word was spoken into me, and it handicapped me. And so now I'm working a part-time job in my 11th grade year, half going to school half day and working part-time half a day because I needed the resources for our family. We needed money. And so I'm doing whatever I have to do to take care of myself and take care of my family and bringing money home. And so then I took algebra in the 10th grade, in the 12th grade. I didn't take any math in the 11th grade, just algebra in the 9th, in the 10th, and took geometry as a senior. And I struggled through it because I missed that year off. And so, because algebra is what? It's building blocks. And I missed
Mhm.
those building blocks. So I got through it. How I got out of high school, I have no idea. I managed to get out. I got out. I got out. So here it is, fast forward in the 90s at Abilene, Texas, Dodge Air Force Base. My wife has now finished her master's degree. in 1994, and now it's time for me to pursue my associate's degree. Initially, to start out and to get my associate's degree, I had enough credit hours based on my time in the Air Force, because they transferred them over to what you do in the Air Force, and they can also credit them and give you what I call a credited for your associate's degree. And I needed one class to finish. What do you think that class was?
Algebra.
Algebra.
Mhm.
I needed algebra. And I can tell you, Zach and Evangeline, it scared the living heck out of me. Because I went right back to the 8th grade at that
Yeah.
moment. Now, here I am, raising 2 daughters. They're in high school. My wife has finished a master's degree. I'm an E7 master's sergeant, and I'm shaking in my boots because of that word. I can't do it. But I'm a role model. I'm a father. I have to be the positive role model. I have to set the example. I can't allow my kids to do what I say. I need to do what I do.
Mm.
And so I enrolled in algebra, and it was tough, Evangeline. I dropped out. I quit. I can't do this because I'm listening to that language. I can't do it. But the other powerful language, I have to be a role model for my children. I I can't do this. I can't quit. So I enrolled
Yeah.
again, and it was struggling. Lack of a better word, that language came right back up. You can't do it. Guess what I did? I dropped out again.
Wow.
And then the language came right back. Jeff Willie, you remember now, the buck stops here. You got to do this. You got to do this. How are you going to change this paradigm? You got to model this. You got to go back, even though you're quitting, but you got to still show the resolve that you're going back. Even though your daughters know that you was dropping out, but they need to know you're not going to quit. So I enrolled again, the 3rd time. And you would think third time was the charm. I know you're going to say that third time was the charm. In my college, I share this story with my college kids when I was in college, when I was teaching college with my college students. Oh yeah, Professor Jeff, third time is a charm. And I would have to disappoint you. No, it wasn't. No, it was not. I dropped out again.
Mm.
And this is when the humbleness and the Lord speaking. And I go out into my backyard at a gazebo back there, nice backyard, and I lay out like a snow angel. Now it's in the springtime. I lay out like a snow angel, and I look up and I say, Lord, I need help. I can't do this. This is my cry. And guess what he told me? You know, you can't do it, but I can. And I have given you the resources. I have given you the brilliant daughter that's a math genius, and you are too proud to ask her for your help. And so my daughter became my tutor. My daughter taught me algebra for me to get through college algebra. Here I am. I'm the dad. You don't ask your children for help. You help them. And she helped me get through that. And I went back 4th time. And guess what? I got a C. To me, that was my A, because I got that monkey off my back.
Wow.
Yeah.
And once I got that monkey off my back, I got the associate's degrees, the bachelor's, and the master's, and everything just started rolling because I got that monkey, as we say, the monkey off the back. The humbleness to realize that the resource God has already blessed me with. I've given you the daughter. I've given you the expertise. You're just too proud to ask. And that's all they ask.
What a gift. What a gift your daughters are to you, right?
That's right. They
Yeah.
will. They'll help. So, yeah. And she's
Very good.
brilliant. She's brilliant. She made her first B as a freshman in college. I thought the girl's gonna die. I mean, she was, I made a B.
My older son is like that. He's a high achiever, and he really gets down on himself whenever he gets anything less than 100%. You know,
Mhm.
like, you got to try harder, buddy. 100%? Really? That's all we're going for?
Yeah. So that was because I had to model. I believe the model is part of leadership. It all starts at home.
Mm.
People don't do what you say; they do what you do.
Mhm.
When I tell my leaders, when I'm doing leadership workshops. I said, most of you are leading the same way that you were parented.
Yes. Yes.
That's how you're leading. So if you
Yeah.
had a very, very demeaning parent, you become a very demeaning. Now you have to change that once you recognize that and get to take the assessments and do the reflections, and you can start
Amen.
making the adjustments. But absolutely,
Yeah.
I started out being a disciplinarian because I grew up in a very, very poor environment. So we had to go to work. Let's all go to work. Let's go to work. Let's go to work. Let's go to work. Very, very disciplined. Very, very structured. And
Yeah.
when you become a parent, so that's why I say God has a sense of humor, Zach, because He gave me girls. Because if He'd have gave me boys, I probably would have killed them. And He said I could make another one just like you. But He gave me girls because I needed that. I needed that I needed that humbleness. I needed that softness because I come from a very structured sharecropper. Where I want
Wow.
you at, go to work, get up early, get the chickens, feed the hogs, feed the dogs, go to the field, hook up the mule to the plow, get to work. I didn't have a childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm raising kids, and I don't really expect them to be a child because I'm expecting them to do what? Be like me, and they can't. And so
Yeah.
but if I'd had boys, I would have probably expected that. But
Yeah.
girls became the catalyst for the change that took place in my life.
Well, Professor Jeff, man, just always, always bringing so much to every
So
conversation.
much
Uh,
wisdom. Yeah.
uh, I mean, we could obviously sit here and listen to you all day long, talk about oh, just so much knowledge here. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be respectful of your time, and
Mhm.
we're going pretty long here as far as the scheduled time goes, so I don't want to run too much into your time. But we do have a little last segment that we are starting to do here with our guests. We call this the rapid fire segments. We're going to ask you a few questions, try, you know,
Absolutely.
give us a response. It doesn't have to, take whatever time you want, but
Okay.
we try to keep these a little bit shorter. Um, so, favorite book on leadership?
I heard you say that obviously the first, let's be straightforward. The favorite book on leadership is the Bible. Because
Mm,
21 irrefutable laws come from the Bible. If you look at,
yeah.
I have taught from the 21 irrefutable laws from the John Maxwell Bible. And I can tell you right now, and Ken Blanchard, one of the gurus of management, and he got delivered and saved because he realized that guess what he's been doing before he gave his life to the Lord, doing his research. And I use Ken Blanchard at the collegiate level. And once he started doing his research and start reading the Bible, he said, man, I've been writing the Bible. All my leadership books I've been writing all these years all come from the Word of God.
Yeah.
Amen.
I mean,
Yeah.
literally, and it's all every now we can put in the secular vernacular or the secular language, but when you really break it down, it's all there. It's all
Yeah.
there. It is all there. Now, from a
Yeah.
secular book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership obviously is going to be there. There's a servant leadership as well by Ken Blanchard. And Lead Like Jesus is another book that's talked about by Ken Blanchard. But absolutely, but yes, totally.
Yeah.
And if you take that 21 irrefutable laws of leadership and line it up, because you don't need it's all in the Bible. Matter of fact, just take the Maxwell Bible.
Mhm.
And I have taught a webinar, not a webinar, but a workshop, a mastermind on using just that Bible, just that 21 Maxwell Leadership Bible. And I taught pastors on that, on how to apply scripture to your leadership.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Favorite Bible verse or quote?
Uh, Lean not to your own understanding, but acknowledge him in all your ways, he will direct
Mhm.
your paths. Because I have to get myself out of the way.
One failure you're now grateful for.
Oh, not grateful for one failure.
Now, one
You're
failure
now.
you're now grateful for.
Oh, now grateful for.
Hmm.
Hmm. Boy, that is a good one. That's a good one that I'm now grateful for. I think looking back and not making E9 in the Air Force, because that would have I think that would have moved me into another assignment, another location, and extended my time in the Air Force. I didn't say, I'm not saying I didn't want the time, but it's out of time because I want to serve my country. But I was very fortunate to stay at one location very unusual for to stay in one location for 16 years, to raise my children in the same school district, same church for 16 plus years. And that is unheard of in the military. And God granted grace, and I was there. And so if I'd have made E9, I probably would have uprooted and would have been somewhere else, and I would have had the relationship I still have. So now I'm grateful for that, because uh, that was those people that I still stay connected with, all part of my family, whether in Abilene, East Texas, and they all over the country, all because of my relationship at Dyess Air Force Base. And people still call me chief. Matter of fact, when a couple that was there, they ended up making E9, but they gave me a plaque. I can look at it now in my meeting room. They said, "You will always be our chief."
Mhm.
They called me chief, and that's great. So that was now I'm grateful for that. I didn't realize it. I was kind of arrogant. I said I should have made chief, because there was people less qualified than I made chief, and I didn't. But that's neither here nor there. So, but God knows anyway. So,
Yeah.
Next question. What leadership legacy do you want to be remembered for?
uh, servant, inspired to the expire, always being a bright light, always unconditional positive regard. When I say unconditional positive regard, I'm saying the best in everybody in every situation, and trying to be a positive influence, because God has given me the ability to take that N word and turn it into P word, the negative into positive. And I'm always going to plant a positive seed. I'm always, what's the best for you? Why can I help you? How can I serve you today? Calling people by their name. I always, it's been the habit of mine to always try to be the bright light when you're in the room. There's not such thing as a bad morning.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
What's the best advice you think you've ever received?
You can do it. Literally,
Mm.
you can do it. I can. Before that, well, two. Can I give you two?
Sure.
The first one, you're handsome. Because
Mhm.
prior to that, watermelon shaped head, skinny, ugly, thumped on the head. This is from my siblings, not from neighbors. This is from my sisters and brothers. Ugly.
Mm.
And my aunt, my mother's youngest sister, for some reason, she looked at me one day, "Jeffrey, you are handsome." For that moment on, no matter what happens to me, I've always been handsome,
Mm.
because she planted that in me as before the "you can do it." And those are the two things, catalysts. And she's my favorite aunt. And I've always, literally, matter of fact, my four older siblings are older than she is. My older brother and my other sister that's deceased, they're older than my aunt. She's my mother, baby sister. But she saw something in me. She said, "You're handsome." And whatever you think of me doesn't matter, because I share that power of words. Words matter. Words are life and death. They shift people's thinking. And she said that to me. And for that day forward, Angeline, I've been handsome. I don't care what kind of bad day, if I hadn't brushed my teeth or combed my hair or whatever, but still, the fact is she said I was handsome, and then Coach Ray today, "You can do it."
Nice.
Wow.
Those are fantastic pieces of advice.
Yes. You've learned so much wisdom and you apply that, and that's what you do each and every day. So we can't thank you enough for all that wisdom that you've shared today. Um, Thank you. Just thank you so much. We can't wait to read your book, and we'll see you again. Zach, do you have any other
Oh,
questions, takeaways, or?
no, I don't think any questions for Professor Jeff here, but I do have a question for you, Evangeline.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
What
Part of
what
the
was your
interview.
what was your biggest takeaway from today?
My biggest takeaway is just I cry. I don't know if you guys saw my tears, but I couldn't help that. Um, so many, but really using whatever you have experienced and learned and use it in a powerful, loving way. Um, Professor Jeff is such a role model for really valuing people. You know, he didn't have any, I didn't hear any regrets or, over the things that he's just so positive again, positive regard, turning any negativity into positive and being the first in your family to say it's gotta stop with me. Poverty, negativity. So I just admire you so much, and hopefully my kids would hear your children. My kids wanted to be doctors initially, but then they changed their course. Now my oldest want to be a lawyer. She's applying for law school. So I'm hoping that the wisdom you've shared with us today, I can also apply in my own life. So thank you again so much.
Thank
How
you.
about you, Zach?
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so many things, that you talked. I got so many stories in my head that are things related to what you're talking about that just keep popping off, and I'm like, oh man, I completely understand the. I can't obviously have the firsthand knowledge of what you're talking about when you grew up, but my wife, on the other hand, growing up in the Soviet Union in the 80s, you know, that's exactly the experience that she grew up with. They literally had a bucket in the wintertime that was for all 16 people in the family. That's where everybody did their business.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
just
yeah.
the way it was. So, yeah, from her telling me about her growing up, it's all very powerful. Everything that you mentioned today just really struck me. Um, so many things that I could pull out here, but I like the power of storytelling, right? That to me sets apart everything else that you've done here.
Mhm.
Just the power of the story itself of this is my experience. This is where I've been. This is what I've seen. This is what I've done. This is the knowledge that I bring to the table. And you can bring that and relate it to real life situations in such a disarming way. These powerful stories that illuminate timeless principles, and you
Mm,
do it in a very disarming way that just kind of puts people at ease. And it's like, even if I don't understand the specific circumstances, I can see it in my head. I can sympathize with it, or I can relate to it because I
mm,
can see in your face, the emotional component of that. And so I really appreciate the way that
yeah.
you've been so just wearing your heart on your sleeve with us here today. And it's always a tremendous impact on me.
Well, thank you guys. That's
Thank you.
that's what this is what my college students experienced because they knew that I can connect and relate.
Um,
And I was always transparent.
And
well,
sincere. Your
Yeah.
sincerity is so evident in everything you do. So thank you. We pray you multiply. Kids
well,
nowadays need that. So hopefully your book will come out there and many young people would learn from your stories.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Well, what can I do for you, Zach, Evangeline? What can I do for you? What do you need from me right now, or want from me? You don't necessarily have a need, but what do you want from me? What can I share with you?
well, one thing you can share, not specifically for me, but for the audience, is how they can get in contact with you if they want to learn more about what you do or how you can impact their lives.
Yes.
Jeff at jeffwillie.com. Jeff at JEFFWILLIE.com and 214-733-2561. 214-733-2561. Or you can just go to jeffwillie.com and you can find everything about me there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll put all that in the description on the video as well, so that in case people miss it, they can rewind, or they could just scroll down.
So most people are going to delete it. Who is that old guy?
Well, All right, so that wraps up this episode of High Rungs Conversations. I want to say a huge thank you to Jeff Willie for sharing his story and all the principles and everything that guides his journey. If there's something in today's conversation that challenged your thinking or inspired you to lead differently, we'd love to hear about it. Connect with us on LinkedIn and share this episode with someone who's ready to grow. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today and sharing a few of your heartbeats. And we love you, and we wish you the best.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
If this conversation resonated with you, take a moment to like the video and drop a comment below. We read them, and we love hearing what stood out to you. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when new conversations are released. And please share this with someone who needs to hear it, a colleague, a friend, someone you're leading, or someone who's leading you. If you'd ever like to be a guest or you know a leader whose story deserves to be heard, please reach out. We're always looking for meaningful conversations.